Welcome to Thursday Night Football. Glad you're with us. It's presented by Bud Light. Spanish language telecast is available on Fox Deportes as we will go down to the field level and hear from the players. A little net sound before the game.
It's Thursday night.
All week talk about Thursday night prime time. Everybody's watching.
Let's ride, man. We all we got.
It don't matter who watching. We watching.
We got an opportunity of a lifetime today. Let's go play.
Win on three, whatever it takes. Win on three, 1, 2, 3. Win.
Up front on three. 1, 2, 3. All right.
But guys, it does matter who's watching. I'm watching, you're watching. And let's talk about these fans here. They'll be watching when Brock Osweiler heads out onto the field. He played here in 2016. It didn't go well, and now he's been pretty darn good for the Miami Dolphins, taking over for the injured Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, he's played well, and he has downplayed his return here to Houston, for the couple of days leading up to this. But, any competitor would want to come in here and play really, really well and show Bill O'Brien and everybody that maybe they made a mistake when they let him go. He has played well. They would like to be able to run the football, but that's probably unlikely when you consider how good Houston is defensively against the run. So a lot of expectations and a lot of pressure on Brock Osweiler to move that offense.
Well, the fans will get to see him right away. Houston won the toss. They defer. It's Miami's football. And as always, we are glad you're with us tonight. 2 4-3 teams going at it. One team has lost 3 of 4. One team has won 4 straight. Devontae Parker, a big night for him. And J.J. Watt has got his sights set on his former teammate, Mr. Osweiler. Fairbairn will kick it away. Kind of a knuckleball, and on one hop, it's Beledge. And he gets out to the 22, maybe the 23. Return of 19 yards. Batamose made the stop. There's a flag down on the play, and we'll see if there was an illegal formation on that kick. Sean Smith is our referee.
Illegal formation, kicking team. Not all players were in the setup box. 5-yard penalty, first down.
So it cost them 5 yards, and that means that Miami will start inside their own 20 at the 18. And here's Brock Osweiler. And here's what he's done, Troy, since taking over for Ryan Tannehill, who's still out with a bad shoulder.
Yeah, it's a small sample size, but he's actually played better in the 2 games than Ryan Tannehill had prior to him injuring his shoulder. He's given this team a chance to win. They, of course, came back. They beat Chicago. He rallied the troops. They lost on Sunday, but he's given them a chance in both.
And now some indecision before the first play from scrimmage here with the officiating crew. Mike Pereira is with us. We're putting you right to work. What's going on? This is a rather uninspiring start.
What the receiving team did not do was have 8 men inside their box, and so it's an illegal formation on the kickoff. It's not one that you enforce from the end of the kick, which they tried to do here. If they're going to accept the penalty, they'll enforce 5 yards from the 35 and the 40 and re-kick it or decline it. So this shouldn't happen at the beginning of the game like this with a potential misenforcement, but they're going to get it straight
Illegal formation on the receiving team is a 5-yard penalty, re-kick.
Well, we already had one official lose his job, Mike. This isn't starting out too good for them.
Are you firing people from up here now, Troy?
No, just a suggestion.
So we get the thrill of a second kickoff. Try to contain yourselves on a Thursday night. This is primetime programming. So they have to huddle up again. They have to go out. Miami has to get 8 guys inside that box to be legal for this return. Perry is back there waiting with Balaj. And Fairbairn gets to do it again. Do we lose that 6 seconds of time, Mike Pereira, or do we get that back?
You don't get any time back. That's considered a live ball foul, so there's no reset of the clock.
Okay, so in the end, the ball comes out to the 25, and Miami actually gains a few yards of field position after all that. So that was fun. Here's Osweiler. We saw the numbers as he's making his third start. They're the numbers for Brock.
Kicking team, 5-yard penalty added to the dead ball spot. First down.
And now they've got a 5-yard penalty that's going to take the ball even further down the field. So Miami gets about 8 yards of extra field position after all that, and this is the biggest stumbled start in the history of the NFL.
I've never seen anything like this.
Brutal. Frank Gore starts in the backfield. Osweiler throws, and the pass is caught to Jakeem Grant, and he's brought down by Tyrann Mathieu immediately after a gain of 3. Injuries to Kenny Stills, out with a bad groin. Their big playmaker on the outside, Albert Wilson, is out and on IR after his hip injury last week. So it's Amendola, Parker, Jakeem Grant, and they activated Leonte Carew for this game.
Yeah, a lot working against Miami at the skill position, and like I said, playing against a defense going to be hard to run the football against them in a short week, and trying to get a young player going. And
here's an old player that's trying to get going, and he's got a first down carry. That's Frank Gore, who is number 4 on the all-time rushing list. He just keeps turning in solid years. A gain of 9 and a first down.
Pretty remarkable when you consider Frank Gore and what he's been through when he came into the league. A couple ACL tears in college, and his durability has not missed a start since 2011. I mean, he has been durable. He shows up and he runs hard every week.
Gore left side. Play gets strung out. Gore gets to the edge, and a nice carry on first down of 7 yards. Here's the season in review. They took 2018 at the beginning by storm. They started 3-0. But then Ryan Tannehill injured his shoulder week 5 at Cincinnati. Didn't make the start against Chicago. They won that game. The Dolphins did on an overtime field goal, but they've lost 3 of 4, and here they sit behind New England in the AFC East. New England 5-2 with a dated Buffalo on Monday. Pass is caught. That's Parker. And Devontae Parker has just his 3rd catch of the season. The number 1 pick out of Louisville in 2015 for 14 yards.
Well, like we talked about coming into this game, this is just the 3rd game this season that he's been active, and a lot of chatter with his inactive status on Sunday, and he wants to show what he's capable of doing, and that's a good start for him. A good route off of play action, an open lane for Osweiler, and this is a nice start.
Here's one batted down, and that's Watt. The great athlete at defensive end. He's had a hernia, a bad back, a break in his leg, but the 3-time Defensive Player of the Year is still just a force off the edge. He's got 7 sacks, and he knocked that one away. 2nd and 10.
You combine him with Jadeveon Clowney, and that is a tandem that I would not want to have to face if I was a quarterback. And you talk about J.J. Watt, a guy his size at 290 pounds, and the way that he can move, he's as athletic as they come. He is a force. Here he is right here.
2nd down and 10. Play action. Osweiler is sacked, and a flag is down. J.J. Watt got home after knocking down that pass. Tips his cap. A loss of 6, and we'll check the flag. It's a hold.
Holding, offense, number 70. Penalties decline, result of the play is 3rd down.
That is sack number 8 for J.J. Watt.
Yeah, and it's holding penalty number 6 for Ja'Wuan James. And he's going to have a lot more of them tonight if they don't give him a little bit of help, because that's going to be too much if they isolate him one-on-one. There's not many guys in this league, not many tackles, period, that can block J.J. Watt. And I thought against Chicago, Adam Gase did a heck of a job of securing the edges in a variety of different ways to help those tackles. And they did not give up a sack in that game to Khalil Mack or anyone else. I think he's going to have to go back to some of those looks.
They blow this play dead. Watt came across early, and we'll see if he was drawn off by somebody on the offensive line.
Neutral zone infraction, defense number 99. 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
So that brings the ball to the 38. This is the first 3rd down that Miami has faced on this opening possession. They've gone 17 straight games without an opening possession touchdown.
Well, if you're Osweiler and you don't have anything down the field that gets the first down, all you need is about 5 yards, and you give yourself an opportunity for a field goal.
Pass is caught by Amendola. Can he get enough? Looked like he was knocked down a half-yard short of a first down, and he was. McKinney was in on the tackle, a gain of 10. And a decision coming for Adam Gase. It's going to be 4th down, less than a yard. And it looks like he and they are going to go for it.
Yeah, I like that decision. I like what Adam Gase did there on the play call. You get it out quick and you pick up, you give yourself an opportunity to try to get the first down, but if not, it's positive yardage. And as I said, you then have a chance for a field goal opportunity. But as much as they picked up, this is looks like it's less than a yard. So good call.
And they throw it. How about that play call? Gore's looking for the flag, doesn't get it. And it's McKinney out there in coverage. And I don't know about that play call.
Yeah, that was a short one, and I'm surprised as well. I think Osweiler could have just snuck it for the first down.
Instead, Watt blew up the play. Gore couldn't make the catch, and the Texans have it on downs. Well, the Texans have it as Miami can't convert on 4th and less than 1. Weird play call. We'll get back to it after a play. Watson starts in the shotgun. This is where his best numbers happen. Here's the former Dolphin, Lamar Miller. He picks up 1, and let's go back to 4th down.
Yeah, you look at the design. First of all, you got Frank Gore, who's immediately going to the flat, and then you got J.J. Watt out here at defensive end, and there's no deception to the play. You've got Osweiler coming out, but there's no fake to any type of running back, and so J.J. Watt immediately is going after him, which you question that a little bit. And then Gore obviously covered. Can't have pass interference because the ball was thrown behind the line of scrimmage, and just not a well executed or designed play on 4th down.
Watson keeps, throws, incomplete for Hopkins. And just like that, it's 3rd down and 9.
Deshaun Watson, he takes another hit. You know, his injuries have been well documented going into last week's game, what he's been playing with the rib injury and a collapsed lung. And I thought Sunday he moved very well, all things considered, and did a nice job. But this offensive line has had a lot of changes, 5 different lineups just through the first 7 weeks of the season. And they're still trying to find their way, although, like you said, coming off their best performance in that win against Jacksonville.
Watson is the most hit quarterback, the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. Has to come to the tight end, Jordan Thomas, and he is knocked down short of first down yardage by Minkah Fitzpatrick, the rookie out of Alabama. And the big tight end gets 6. It's 4th down, and a good start for the Dolphin defense.
Well, that's a great start for this Dolphins defense. They just got gashed in that loss against the Lions. Gave up 248 yards rushing. It's been a defense that's given up a lot of yards. Here they come.
Jakeem Grant on the return. Nice little move, and then gets tripped up out across the 30 by Kambayi. 8-yard return, and Grant. That should have been a foul. We'll talk about it when we come back. Let's go back to that punt return by Jakeem Grant. Mike Pereira, that's about as blatant as it gets, isn't it?
And you look at some of these plays, and a lot of times officials get caught and can't see things. This is wide open. There's probably any one of 3 guys that should have been able to pick this up.
You've been doing baseball, Joe. You look like he's coming into second base. Spikes high.
Spikes high. Like a Machado coming in there. From the 31, second possession. And Gore gets swallowed up by J.J. Watt. And Watt 3 times now looks like he's been shot out of a cannon.
I don't think Jawan James, I don't think he likes this matchup at all. You see J.J. Watt, I mean, he is an absolute beast. And that's the whole key to this defense, as we know, the front. And it's J.J. Watt, it's Jadeveon Clowney when he's coming after the quarterback, and those interior guys, they're awfully tough.
Second down and 12. That's Jakeem Grant, who just got kicked on the punt return. He makes the catch and the run. Clowney on the stop downfield and a first down after a gain of 13. And there's a player down, Jonathan Joseph. They're already thin in the secondary. Aaron Colvin not active. Sharice Wright not active. They brought Kareem Jackson down from safety to play corner, and now the 2-time Pro Bowl cornerback Jonathan Joseph in pain. They look at him. We'll take a break. Welcome back to Thursday Night Football, presented by Bud Light at NRG Stadium. Good to see Jonathan Joseph at least able to get up and limp off the field, but he'll get more attention on the sideline. First down, Miami.
Well, they had Nick O'Leary over there. I thought he was going to help his tackle.
Passes underneath to Drake, and Kenyon Drake out of bounds with about 9 yards. Run out by Justin Reed, and let's go back to the injury of Joseph. And it's Clowney and his legs that were flying around that slammed into the back of the legs of Joseph, who is in the blue tent on the sideline getting looked at. Osweiler is lined up wide to the left, and the handoff is to Ballage. And Kalen gets 5 yards. So a little trickery here by the Miami Dolphins. Osweiler was lined up, split out wide to the left. And after that gain of 5, it's good for a first down.
Yeah, and I like what Adam Gase does there. You bring in Ballage, who's 237 pounds, and just another way to try to run the football and give it a little bit of a different look. And obviously it was very effective. Here in the early going, they've already had more success on the ground than I anticipated coming in.
Play clock was at 1. This is Drake over the right side, and Kenyon Drake is out of bounds with another first down. So coming off that big effort at Jacksonville, it's been a rough start for this Houston defense, a gain of 11.
Well, there's J.J. Watt, and teams, when you come in and you do play Houston, if you're going to try to get on the edges, running at Watt is probably your best opportunity, because he has a tendency to kind of get up the field, and sometimes it creates some running lanes, as we just saw, as opposed to maybe going the other direction and trying to run at Jadeveon Clowney.
Play clock was at 6, and Osweiler uses the Dolphins' first timeout. We'll be right back after this from Progressive. Adam Gase's team is really hit by injuries here as we play in Week 8. Who's not here? Tannehill, his starting quarterback. Kenny Stills, Albert Wilson. That doesn't even take into account Daniel Kilgore, who made 4 starts, out with a triceps injury. He's lost for the rest of the year. And Josh Sitton, the 4-time Pro Bowl guard, is out and on IR with a rotator cuff injury. Osweiler throws, and the pass is incomplete. Smythe was the target. It'll be second down and 10.
Well, the center, this is a 3-step drop. You don't see this very often. Osweiler's just going to come out from underneath center. You can see right there in the middle. DJ Reader, he just goes right through Swanson. And then, of course, Clowney, he's back there as well. And you're taking hits like that on the quick passing game. That, I'll tell you what, that'll shake you up if you're a quarterback.
Swanson making his 4th straight start at center. Ted Larson, his 7th straight start at left guard. 2nd and 10. Here's Drake, delayed handoff, and Kenyon Drake takes it inside the 30 to the 28. McKinney, the first one there to hit him, and a gain of 4, 3rd and 6.
That's a nice running lane right in the middle of that defense. So now with the 3rd and 6 here, the Dolphins have moved the ball in their 2 possessions. Don't have anything to show for it yet, but stuffed on 4th down. We'll see what they're able to do here.
Inside field goal range for Jason Sanders, the rookie. But they want more than that. Handoff is to Drake, right side, well played. A yard shy of a first down as Zach Cunningham, who's been really playing well of late, led the team with 10 tackles a week ago and a forced fumble. Comes away from the tackle limping, but it's now 4th down, and instead of going for it on 4th and a yard, maybe a yard and a half, they're going to bring on Jason Sanders.
Well, Zach Cunningham, he's one of those athletic linebackers that can really roam sideline to sideline. Juwan James, it looked to me like he might have gotten away with another hold on J.J. Watt.
42-yard try by Sanders. And Miami strikes first, but a flag is down. Ball went sailing by. Flag came popping up from the bottom of your screen. Remember, it was 4th down and about a yard, so if this is against Houston, it's a first down.
Personal foul, defense, contact to the head and neck area of the long snapper. That's a half the distance penalty, automatic, first down.
So a hit to the head of 39-year-old John Denny. The 2-time Pro Bowl long snapper, and let's take a look. I don't see it.
No, nor do I. I'm waiting to see where it comes in, and
Mike Pereira is with us. Mike, clear it up.
The center is defenseless, so you can't hit him in the head or neck area with your shoulder, your helmet. But to me, that's just clear shoulder-to-shoulder contact and not a foul.
This is a bad start for this crew, the officiating crew, and it gives Miami a fresh set of downs as they take the points off the board. First down from the 12. Here's Drake. Drake walks to the end zone. Touchdown, Miami. The Dolphins take advantage of that call, and Kenyon Drake has got his 3rd rushing touchdown of the season as the Dolphins strike first.
well, JJ gets the pressure right through Juwan James. He's almost right in the mesh point when the ball's handed off, but the job that Jesse Davis does at right guard, you see that he's able to push his man deep. Nobody then able to contain. There was just no one there to get to Drake before he got in the end zone.
A 12-yard touchdown run for Kenyon Drake. And that is only the 2nd rushing touchdown allowed by Houston. Good start offensively. That call gave the Dolphins another chance. Looked like a bad call. And the Dolphins make the most of it, leading 7-0. Back to Thursday Night Football, presented by Bud Light. Mr. Greasy, Mr. Marino. And now it's Brock Osweiler at the controls. And however they have to get it done, here they are coming in having lost 3 of 4, and this has been a real good offensive start.
Well, we'll take a look at that touchdown, and the fact that they score on this touchdown is pretty remarkable. I showed J.J. Watt, but Juwan James, he pass sets. He's not even coming off the ball as a run blocker, and that's why J.J. Watt got the penetration that he did. And yet, because of Travis Swanson and Jesse Davis doing such a great job inside and getting the push, they're able to score. And that's going to be the new trend in the league. You know, seeing Juwan James pass that on a running play that goes for a touchdown.
Just ran right by him. The Dolphins came in with only 14 first quarter points all year. They could easily have 10. We're gunning for 14 when they went for it on a 4th down and 1 on their first possession. And they already have a season high 94 yards in this opening quarter. That one complete to Hopkins for 6. 2nd and 4.
Well, it's been an offense that has gotten off to slow start, so this has been good to see for them tonight.
Hand off to Miller, and Miller drives to the 35. Depends on where they place it, and they've given him enough for a first down as Godjaw made the stop.
Of course, Lamar Miller, his first 4 years with the Dolphins, and came here to Houston, and he's done a nice job. I think people look at him and they think of him as more of a perimeter runner, but he has definitely shown throughout his career that he's awfully tough and very capable of running between the tackles.
Hand off here to Miller, and after that first down carry, he gets 7. Kiko Alonso on the stop. For the Texans, they started 0-3. They lost all 3 by 7 points or less. And now they've won 4 straight. And 3 of the 4 games that they've won by 7 points or less. So it's been tight. They sit on top in the division, as Miller is going to come up a yard shy of a first down. Vincent Taylor on the tackle.
Yeah, they finally got to enjoy a win then on Sunday, you know, not being a nail biter against Jacksonville, and you know, did a lot of good things against that team, and starting with the offensive front. And you come into a game like this against the Dolphins, considering what struggles they've had stopping the running game, that, you know, Bill O'Brien trying to put that to work here on this drive and see what they're able to do here on 3rd and short.
Miller's carried it 3 straight plays. Will he get it 4 in a row? No. Pass is caught for a first down. That's Fuller. Nice move. And Will Fuller is out of bounds inside the 25. Jones forced him out, but on 3rd down and 1, Fuller picks up 34.
Well, the Texans are without a receiver as well. Kiki Cutie, who he's able to do some really good things, and they're now having to use Will Fuller in some ways to make up for that. He comes in and runs a nice pivot route. He's got great speed, but he's also got excellent quickness.
Texans hurry it up, and here's Miller. Down inside the 5 to set up 1st and goal. T.J. McDonald with a touchdown-saving tackle. And the guy who is number 8 on the all-time Dolphin rushing list, Lamar Miller, just carried it for 19.
Well, they got a great push inside, and Lamar Miller, he just hits it. That was impressive.
Texans hurry it up again. Miller. Nada. Let's go back to Will Fuller and what he did after making that catch.
I really like what I've seen of him and the big play ability that he brings, but I think he runs good routes too. You can see his job, Nick Martin there at center. They get a push inside and then a missed tackle, and that has been what has plagued this Dolphins defense. They just have missed a lot of plays at the linebacker level. They've not been able to get off blocks. That's why they've given up the yardage they have in the run game.
Second straight week, the Texans are without Zach Fulton at right guard, out with a bad ankle. Greg Mance gets the start. Pass is caught. That is Hopkins, and Hopkins gets to the 2, and that's all. 3rd down and goal. I think you look at DeAndre Hopkins, and you just have to be in awe of what he's been able to do statistically with regard to his toughness. He doesn't miss games. He doesn't complain with who's throwing him the ball. Now he's got Watson, but this guy is a superstar and pretty much keeps quiet.
Yeah. How about that?
It's crazy, crazy idea, crazy notion.
Well, this is where they have struggled offensively, scoring in the red zone.
Second to last, scoring touchdowns inside the 20. They're inside the 5. Miller, touchdown. And the starting right guard, Greg Mance, gets a chance to spike it. Good possession by Houston, and Miller a big part of it.
Well, it was such a great push inside the double team. He's able to break a tackle there on T.J. McDonald and get it across the goal line. And that's got to make Bill O'Brien and everybody feel awfully good. Against Jacksonville, they were able to just pound it down in the red zone just like that and score. And like I said, 1 for 10 in the red zone going into last week's game. And for them to just finish that drive off on the ground with power, that feels good.
And the game is tied. Second straight game with a rushing touchdown for Lamar Miller, and the 29th rushing touchdown of his career. Tomorrow night, game 3 of the World Series. Red Sox up 2-0. The series now in LA. Dodgers try to jump back in it. Walker Buehler gets the ball against Rick Porcello. On the air, 7:30 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. And there are the starters. Porcello, who's been not just starting, but available in the bullpen this postseason. He was in the pen the first 2 games, didn't get used. Nathan Eovaldi was used. So Porcello gets the ball against Walker Buehler, who is a 24-year-old rookie stud for the LA Dodgers. How about Miller? Born in Miami, went to the University of Miami, was a Dolphin, but then took a free agent deal to come here to Houston. They're happy he agreed to it, and he's just tied this game.
Yeah, 33 yards rushing on that drive, and what a way to answer for Houston, the way that the Dolphins have moved the ball on their first couple of possessions. And you know, it was kind of time for them to get something going, and they put an exclamation mark on that drive.
Perry on the return from inside the 5. Flags fly. And Perry, there are 1, 2, 3 flags.
I think there's a flag on every special teams play every week.
They talk about pace of game and trying to improve it. Doing something about having a penalty on seemingly every kicking play might help. This is the 4th special teams play with
During
flags
the return,
on it.
Holding, return team number 35. 10-yard penalty, first down.
It's against Akins. And for that takedown on Batamosi. Let's go down to Erin Andrews.
Well, news not good for an already banged up Houston secondary. Cornerback Jonathan Joseph questionable with an ankle injury, and linebacker Zach Cunningham, who had a team high 11 tackles last week, he's questionable with a knee, Joe.
Thanks, Aaron. 7 game, under half a minute to go. Opening quarter from the 10. Here's Gore. Gets about 4.5. McKinney on the tackle. And that will do it for quarter number 1. A 7-7 game in Houston. Welcome back. Aerial coverage is brought to you by State Farm. Second quarter begins. In that first quarter, the Dolphins used their running game. Key part of the plan tonight. Don't ask Osweiler to win the game with J.J. Watt bearing down on him and trying to keep the ball away from Deshaun Watson. They moved the ball well a couple of times. Whiffed on a 4th and 1. Got it back. Went down. Scored a touchdown. Texans answered. Second down and 5 from the 15. Osweiler down the middle of the field. Picked. Intercepted by Houston. Justin Reed and the rookie knocked down near the 16.
Looked like there might have been contact at the top of this route. Mike Tyson, who's now in for Jonathan Joseph. There's the grab. Should have been called. but it's what spun Amendola around, and then you're going to see what Osweiler sees. He thinks he's going to have Amendola. It's a high throw, however, and then the interception occurs. But clearly, the Houston Texans got away with one. Mike Tyson getting his opportunity to play because of injury, and it was missed.
And Justin Reid, who was the first pick in this past draft, younger brother to Eric Reid, has his second interception. Here's a handoff to Alfred Blue. First pick came in the 3rd round because the 1st round pick was traded to get Deshaun Watson. The 2nd round pick was the pick they gave with Osweiler to Cleveland in the salary dump to get rid of his big contract, and now here he is back around with the Dolphins. 2nd down and 7. Watson keeps, floats, wide open, touchdown Texans. Jordan Thomas.
You see Jordan Thomas. It's just a breakdown by the Dolphins. It was Bobby McCain, who they already have Deshaun Watson taken care of off of the edge, but I don't know what McCain was looking at. Now he was injured. He came back last week and kind of getting back into the swing of things, but he just was not cluing in at all with what was happening in the backfield and got greedy, and then Thomas is able to come in behind him for an easy touchdown.
A 13-yard touchdown to Jordan Thomas, and for Deshaun Watson, 30 touchdown passes in 14+ games. Here's the interception, and the rookie Justin Reid was waiting for that right into his gut.
And they come back, they do the bootleg action, and they get, like I said, Bobby McCain, who's back in that zone, and he's got his eyes in the backfield. He falls for the play action for whatever reason, and it's able to get Jordan Thomas in behind him. That's a good job of finishing. This is a Dolphins defense that, you know, they've had a lot of holes this year, but where they've been good is creating takeaways, and they've been good when teams have gotten down in the red zone, and they needed them to come up with some type of play, but yet Houston finishes them off.
So Deshaun Watson off to an incredible start, and doing it these days injured. Broken rib, partially deflated lung, bruised sternum. Had to bust to their game in Jacksonville, and he looks good tonight. 2 touchdowns in 77 seconds for Houston. They lead by 7. Let's take a look at tonight's Beasts of the Line, presented by Fantastic Beasts, the Crimes of Grindelwald. J.J. Watt. Whether knocking down a pass, sacking Osweiler, making a play on Frank Gore, off to a good start. And stay tuned for the 2-minute warning as we take a special look at Fantastic Beasts, the Crimes of Grindelwald, in theaters November 16th.
Talk about Deshaun Watson busing to the game in Jacksonville. Brandon Wheaton played minor league baseball. He could tell him a thing or two about busting to games.
Absolutely. Play clock is at 3. Pass to Amendola, short gain on 1st down. Talking about J.J. Watt, with what he's done already tonight, an NFL best 146 tackles for loss since entering the league in 2011. The next closest is Von Miller with 118. And Watt's missed a lot of time the last 2 years because of injury. 2nd and 6. Toss to Gore. Nice cut. 3rd and short coming up. Josh Keys on the tackle.
No, it just kind of shows you, Joe, what happens as you age. And J.J. Watt, who's in his 8th year, did not miss a game in his first 5 years. And then since the start of 2016, he's missed 24 games. Of course, the back injury and then the leg injury last year. But, you know, he plays a physical style of ball, and people were wondering, you know, what it might look like this year for him, but he has been sensational. He is in the running once again for Defensive Player of the Year.
3rd down and 2. Osweiler underneath. Pass complete. Flag flies as Mike Gesicki, the rookie tight end, was flipped, but a flag came flying out of the secondary. And Kareem Jackson, who was in on the stop, slow to get up. And they can't get any thinner back there.
They really cannot, because Kareem Jackson, he has been playing safety. He went back to corner, and they've needed to keep him there again tonight. But Gesicki, you know, when there's zone coverage.
Pass interference, offense number 19, blocking downfield. That penalties decline, result of the play is 4th down.
That was on Jakeem Grant, the penalty. But when a defense is in zone coverage, you don't just run through these zones like Gesicki just did, and you catch a ball on 3rd and 3rd and 2, and you don't pick up the 1st down. It makes no sense. Wouldn't have mattered anyway with the penalty. But now the Dolphins are punting. But like you said, Joe, bigger concerns right now for the Houston Texans with Kareem Jackson now walking off the field.
We saw Joseph limp off earlier. They're without Sharice Wright. Aaron Colvin had to put Kayvon Webster on IR earlier. And Andre Howe, an inspiring story, not active tonight with a shoulder injury. Beautiful punt off the foot of Matt Hawk. And it's corralled by Tyler Ervin back inside the 10. 60-yard punt, and Ervin just happy to get on top of it. Texans up 7. Welcome back to Thursday Night Football, presented by Bud Light. J.J. Watt is fun to watch play unless you're playing right tackle, and he's not fun. Here's Blue. Alfred Blue carries it out to the 14, a gain of 6 on 1st down.
Well, they got him backed up, and we'll see what the Dolphins are able to do defensively on Sunday against the Lions. A very similar situation, and all of a sudden they give off a 71-yard run. And so they have an opportunity to flip some field position and give it to their offense in a good spot if they're able to make a start, or make a stop. But that was a good 1st down play by the Texans.
Here is Blue again, and he breaks out, has a 1st down. And it was a bigger saving play tackle by Bobby McCain as he hung on, a gain of 12.
Yeah, just not very good. 2 runs, and you pick up 16 yards and move the chains, and unable to make a play. You're going to see the job that the Texans are able to do, and then another missed tackle, and that's Alfred Blue. He's a little different runner, certainly, than Lamar Miller, but very effective on those runs.
Both in the backfield. Handoff here is to Miller, and Lamar Miller is out to the 40. So 3 plays later, all that field position talk is forgotten about. A gain of 14 yards, another 1st down.
Well, Greg Mance, the right guard who's playing for Zach Fulton, he started last week. He's starting again tonight. You can see the block that he's able to put on Vincent Taylor, and that kind of opens things up.
Texans hurry it up again. Handoff to Alfred Blue, and this time he loses a yard. Dolphins finally get through this Texans offensive line, make a stop.
Well, they made a stop because Sunil Kelemete, he was pulling, and he lost his footing, and so the back had nowhere to go. Hey, whatever it takes. It doesn't matter how it happens, as long as it happens.
It's a good motto in life. Doesn't have to just be about football. Second down and 11. Watson fires, pass caught. That's Fuller. Short gain. A gain of 3 is Matt Burke, who is a diehard Red Sox fan.
Yeah, he wanted to talk to you about baseball more than he wanted to answer the questions about football.
I was sitting at Fenway Park and on the conference call, and it seemed like a natural conversation to have. Trying to come up with answers for Deshaun Watson. Out to his right. He will run. He will pick it up. And coming off the torn ACL, you'd never know it by the way he can glide through a defense. A gain of 14.
Well, they're trying to get the ball to Lamar Miller on the screen. They fake the pitch or pass out to the left. They come back, and then there's just nothing there. Lamar Miller gets swallowed up, and so Deshaun Watson, he just takes off, and that's some of the things he's able to do. You start to worry if you're Bill O'Brien and the Texans, and when he gets out there, is he going to protect himself, knowing that he has these injuries? Does a nice job of getting to the ground.
Texans already with 83 rush yards in the game. Watson can't find anywhere to go with it, so he slides. Flag is down. Watson was down at the 40, a gain of 3, but we'll check and see what the call is.
Holding. Offense number 88. 10-yard penalty. Replay first down.
Against the tight end, the rookie from Central Florida, Jordan Akins.
Yeah, there's the hold there that they get Akins on. Here's where Deshaun Watson was trying to go with the ball. He just comes out, looks like his feet got tangled up, and as Hopkins goes down, that's what forced Watson then to tuck it and get what he could, but nullified by the penalty.
That's that matchup of DeAndre Hopkins and Xavier Howard. First down and 20 now. Watson is in trouble. Gets rid of it. Incomplete for Miller. Well, Deshaun Watson is 23 years old. And he has taken a lot of hits. He's been hit 68 times coming into tonight. Sacked 26 times. Those two figures the highest in the NFL.
Yeah, they've had a lot of problems up front along that offensive line. Like I said, a lot of changes. They've had a lot of moving parts at the tackle position, and Cameron Wake, who missed a couple games, he's starting to heat up a little bit down here.
Here's Watson. Somehow stays upright. Throws, pass, caught. That's Fuller. And Fuller turned what could have been a big loss and a near sack into a 10-yard gain. Rashad Jones, the two-time Pro Bowl safety, and Kiko Alonso combined on the tackle.
Well, they had a chance at him. Cameron Wake, he was back there. He's the one who initially got Watson moving, and then Andre Branch, number 50, he's the one who just wasn't able to secure Watson in the pocket, and he's just showing how elusive he can be. And yes, there are times when he holds the ball too long and he takes some unnecessary hits, but you got to deal with some of that when you're talking about a guy who's able to create plays like we're seeing tonight.
He has started at 7 of 9. He steps into this throw and airmails Fuller. Fuller had found an open spot in the Miami secondary. He was wide open and Watson missed him.
Well, he had an opportunity, like you said, and we've seen that at times. I think he got off to such a great start last year as a rookie and was playing at such a high level prior to the injury that, you know, he's working back from some things and some of the fundamentals, whether that's from the knee or the hits. And some of the accuracy is a part of it.
Trevor Daniel has it bounce into the end zone. Out. It will come in a net of just 23 yards on that punt. Dolphins have it down 7. We're still here as they picked up the flag. So out to the 20 it comes, and now we'll go to break. Dolphins, they're still down by 7. From the 20. On first down, handoff to Drake, makes a nice move and turns that into a 4-yard gain. Kareem Jackson made the stop. Boban Marjanovic and Tobias Harris are here from the LA Clippers. And our buddy at Fox Sports and certainly MLB on Fox, AJ Hinch, the terrific young Houston Astros manager, pride of the Stanford Cardinal, and he is really good at what he does. His Astros came up just short. The Boston Red Sox in the ALCS, so he's able to take in a Texans game, 2nd and 5. This one, a good throw to Grant. And Jakeem Grant got both feet down at the 41, a completion of 16 yards.
And a really good job by Brock Osweiler of turning this ball loose. Jakeem Grant, that's not a bad route by him. He's able to get separation and not a real big guy. He's just 5'7", so those are not always easy throws to make to a guy to the wide side of the field at that size, but he can really run, and he uses it to his advantage to help create a little separation on the route.
Quick throw now to Devontae Parker, and Parker makes a big play. He's into Texans territory to the 40, a gain of 19 down to Christina.
Well, Devontae Parker inactive last week. He's dealt with the quad injury that's limited him this season. He's also a hot topic with his agent making critical comments about head coach Adam Gase. But throughout the game, you can see Gase going over to his receiver, encouraging him, telling him, I want you to come out here and dominate this game. They're obviously depleted in the receiving corps, and he wants him to step up, Joe.
Yeah, he was the 14th overall pick back in 2015. He'd like to have his play do the talking instead of his agent. From the 40, it's 1st and 10. Hand off to Drake, and he goes nowhere. Clowney was up there, was not alone. We'll give him a loss of 1. Devontae Parker, when he was the 14th overall pick, had a 26-catch rookie season, 3 touchdowns. The next year, 56 for 744. 57 catches for 670 and a touchdown last year, but he's missed 6 games with a couple of different injuries. Only been active for a couple into tonight, a finger, then a quad. 2nd down and 11. Osweiler out to his right, throws it away. Grant the closest one to it. And then there's Ryan Tannehill, who's off to a pretty good start. 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He started every game his first 4 years of his career. Missed 19 straight between the end of 2016 through 2017. There's the injury against Cincinnati, and now he's missed 3 in a row with that shoulder injury.
Yeah, and they didn't know really the severity of it right away, and he went through the week. They thought that he probably would be able to play. It wasn't until Friday that it was bothering him even more, and Brock Osweiler wakes up on Sunday with a message from Gase saying he's going to be the starter, and rallied the team and won a game against Chicago.
It's 3rd down and 11. The Dolphins are left with 1 timeout, and we'll be back in 30 seconds after this from Verizon. Dolphins are 0 for 3 on 3rd down as they face 3rd and 11.
Well, the first thing they've got to do is they've got to protect, and they've got to handle the edge. Here's Clowney, and there's J.J. Watt.
Osweiler steps into it. Pass is caught by Parker. He had to reach behind him just a bit. And for Devontae Parker, catch number 3, and that was a good one.
Well, they used the back down here to help with Clowney, and they put the tight end O'Leary to J.J. Watt. And you see that they've got 2 bodies on each of those pass rushers. They give Osweiler some time, and that's a heck of a catch right there by Devontae Parker, because that was a ball that was behind him, but he was able to adjust. So he's been able to make some plays here in this first half.
3 catches, 50 yards. That was good for 17 on 3rd down and 11. 4 minutes left in the first half. Osweiler steps through pressure, throws, and nearly picked. Trell Jamerson had a clear shot at that interception and somehow didn't really make much of an effort to catch it. This ball comes out kind of knuckling, and yeah, he did He reached for it and just couldn't haul it in.
Yeah, just couldn't even make the play. You see that fair amount. It looked like Brock could have maybe just laid it over him. He had a guy on the sideline, but right now we're seeing Adam Gase doing a good job of protecting the edges and giving those tackles a little bit of help.
2nd down and 10. Here's a little screen for Gore, and Gore rolls over a body to the 19-yard line, a gain of 5. Christian Covington out there for the stop.
How about finishing that play right there by Frank Gore? You know, in that 100-yard game that he had against Chicago a couple of weeks ago, it was the first time since Emmitt Smith back in 2004 that a 35-year-old rushed for 100 yards. I mean, it was really impressive, and it's a good job of him just breaking some tackles and running tough, and just like we saw in the last play, the way he finished that one.
Here comes a blitz. 3rd down and 5. Pass for Grant off his left hand. It'll be 4th down, and Jason Sanders comes back on.
You see Osweiler, he's checking it out to see the route, see where the throw was, and like I talked about, that the radius then for someone like Jakeem Grant at 5'7" is a little different, but I think that's just a ball that got away from Osweiler.
37-yard try to make it a 4-point game. Good snap, good hold, good kick. And the rookie who hit the 47-yard game-winning field goal to beat the Bears a couple of weeks ago has made it 14-10 with 2:57 left in the half.
Well, Sabine Pass High School, which is about 99 miles east of Houston, had to cancel their football season due to players moving out of town after Hurricane Harvey destroyed their homes, as well as several players getting injured. The seniors and their coaches were invited by DeAndre Hopkins to a practice where they met the Texans players, got some gifts, and received a tour of the stadium and the facility from Hopkins and Jadeveon Clowney. Nice story there, guys.
Yeah, it is. This is a real community-oriented organization, the Houston Texans. So Jadeveon Clowney responsible for that effort. And J.J. Watt is the reigning Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year for all he did in the wake of Hurricane Harvey. So out to the 25 comes the football. And the Texans back on offense as they lead by 4. Handoff is to Miller. Miller almost broke that last tackle. McMillan hung on for a gain of 8 for Lamar Miller, who has a touchdown carry in this game. 2nd down and 2.
Lamar Miller is running the ball well and doing a good job mixing it up. They get Alfred Blue. He's gotten his opportunities, and it's been good to see.
On 2nd and 2, Miller gets it again, a little stutter step, and he got maybe a yard. 3rd and 1 coming.
Still plenty of time with just over 2 minutes. They have 3 timeouts, a 2-minute warning. Certainly not any rush here. It looks like they're going to let it run down to the 2-minute warning.
So a big play on the other side. Remember, Miami is down to just 1 timeout if they should make a stop. And now let's take a look at the new film Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, in theaters November 16th. Welcome back to Thursday Night Football, presented by Bud Light. It is week 8 in the beginning of what is usually a pivotal week in an NFL schedule. 2 4-3 teams are meeting here. Some good matchups coming up this weekend, and we'll talk about those as we go through the rest of tonight. But we got a good game, 14-10. 3rd down and 1 here, depending on what happens on this play. You have to believe each side has a chance of calling a timeout. Here's a handoff to Blue, and Alfred Blue depends on where they put it down. He looks to be just short. Cameron Wake made the stop.
Tell you, Akeem Spence, he also a defensive tackle. He's able to get a push there in the middle also. We've got a man down.
That's Kelemete. And while they look at Sunil, just short of first down yardage, I believe, was Alfred Blue. Start your Sunday early this week as Carson Wentz and the Eagles take on Jalen Ramsey and the Jaguars in Wembley Stadium. Eagles Jags live from London Sunday at 9:30 Eastern, only on NFL Network.
Two franchises that are really struggling compared to where they were a year ago and what the expectations were coming in. So across the pond, and a big game for both of those.
Let's just say what transpired here. Because of the injury to Sunil Kelemete, Miami doesn't have to use its final timeout of the half. Blue was stopped less than half a yard short of a first down. So it's 4th and inches. Miami, if Houston punts here, and crazier things have happened, talking about potentially going for it, but Adam Gase and his offense will have another crack at it here before the end of the half. We'll see how Bill O'Brien wants to play it. Kelemete is able to walk back off to the sideline. That cost Houston a timeout.
Well, I can't imagine that Bill O'Brien, with a 14-10 lead before the half, would go for it. Sure enough, they're running out Trevor Daniel to punt this one away. That's disappointing, though, for Bill O'Brien and the Texans at 3rd and 1, and they try pounding it up inside. Well, here they go, but not able to pick that up.
Daniel to punt. Jakeem Grant, the only player in the league who has a punt return for a touchdown and a kick return for a touchdown. Nothing on the return. A fair catch after a 42-yard punt. Stay tuned for the Toyota halftime. Michael Howie and Terry from the streets of New York. Howie on Houston's disruptive defense. You know he loves watching Clowney and Watt go to work. Jonah Hill is hanging out with his buddy Michael Strahan. And Jonah will join the halftime show.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Osweiler right now in this offense. And yeah, they still have a timeout, still plenty of time, but you've got to be smart. If you're Osweiler, you're trying to get guys out, and at the same time, you got to protect against the hit and putting the ball on the ground. A lot of things can happen down here.
Here is a handoff to Drake. Strings the play out, cuts back, breaking tackles, and a good carry on first down. And Watt downfield made the tackle after a gain of 8 with 1:22 and counting, and a timeout on the scoreboard for Miami.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll see offenses come out with a running play like that, a quick screen, just something to get them going.
Pass is caught. Gesicki, and he got popped. Out there making the play, Kareem Jackson, no gain. And Miami has to use their final timeout.
I'll tell you what, Gesicki came into this game with a shoulder injury already. They checked him last Sunday for a concussion after a hit he took in that game, and he got blown up pretty good right there. And that's that's that hit that if the league was sticking to whatever their rules are, that would be a penalty, as far as coming in and lowering your helmet. But we haven't seen as many of those calls once we got the season underway. But that was a big time hit on the rookie.
Well, they were checking Kareem Jackson, who delivered that hit earlier in the half under the blue tent for a hit that he made, and he stuck his head in there. It bring up 3rd down and 2, and now the Dolphins are out of timeouts. Play clock at 10. Third down. Amendola able to hang on. Survives the hit downfield. And a gain of 13 yards as Josh Keyes is the one who delivered the hit, and that's just vintage Danny Amendola.
Yeah, and it actually was a really good throw. He's trying to protect Amendola, knowing Keyes was coming in to make the play, but a good adjustment to the ball.
Under 40 to go. This one down the middle and nearly picked. The target was Gesicki, the rookie tight end, and Mike Tyson was back there for Houston. Here's the catch by Amendola.
Yeah, you see that he's able to adjust to the ball, knowing he's got a defender in front of him. He's going to get hit, and he secures the catch. And this guy's been making catches like that throughout his career. An undrafted free agent out of Texas Tech. Here's the throw, the last one to Gesicki. And as a quarterback, you've got the whole middle of the field. You got a defender running stride for stride with you. Make a move and try to get to the middle of the field. And Gesicki just runs on a line and got covered up pretty good.
Play clock at 2. Second down and 10. Blitz coming late, and Osweiler, that ball came out of his hand. That was Keyes that hit him. This will be reviewed right now. It's a touchdown for Houston. Latrell Jamerson on the return. And there are two pieces to this, and Mike Pereira will weigh in. The arm was going forward, but the pass might have been going backward. We'll take another look.
I would think that's incomplete. What do you think, Mike? He's trying to hold it.
The pass is going backward.
This is a tough one, because the first thing that you've got to look at is the arm going forward? And if it is going forward and defensive contact causes the ball to go backwards, then it's still considered a forward
Ruling
pass.
on the field of a fumble recovered by the defense for a touchdown is under review.
So they review it. It's a scoring play. And this is going to be really interesting in what they call. That was Keyes who delivered the hit. Latrell Jamerson on the return.
Well, the thing about it is Keyes, he comes on the blitz, and Osweiler, he reacted like he never knew he was coming until the very last second. You know, he's looking down the field, and then he's trying to get it out.
So say that again, Mike. I mean, we talk all the time, is the arm going forward? Yes. So the arm's going forward, but to me, and you just touched on this, so just say it again, the ball looks like it's traveling backward. But that doesn't matter.
No question that it's traveling backwards. They've got to make two decisions here. Is he trying to bring it back toward his own body, which in fact makes it like what was the old tuck play now is a fumble, because that rule did change. And then the second thing is if the arm had started forward and defensive contact knocks it loose and causes it to go backwards, then you still have what's considered a forward pass. This is one of the more complicated plays I've seen so far this season.
It looks to me, Mike, tell me what you think. It looked to me like Osweiler was trying to bring it back in, and rather than let it go, he was actually trying to hold on to the ball, much like the tuck rule.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Remember, the tuck rule changed to say that if the ball comes loose, even if you're trying to bring it back, when the arm is going forward, then it is considered an incomplete pass. If you're bringing it down, then it's still a fumble. I kind of look at this, and really, if I'm looking at the play and all the intangibles that you have, not so sure that they can change it. And we'll hear now coming up from Sean Smith.
It is an incomplete pass. It will be 3rd down and 10 at the 45-yard line. Game clock operator, please reset the game clock to 33 seconds. 33
Mike,
seconds.
I know you want to finish, and what you're saying is there's the difference between trying to bring the ball back into your body, which I think both of you feel like Osweiler was doing, and if that's the case, then that would be a fumble.
That would be, but again, completely disregard here the act of the ball going backwards, because the arm started forward, and if they felt that he wasn't bringing the ball down, which is what they ended up concluding, then it does become an incomplete pass when the ball comes loose.
That is about as convoluted a ruling as you can get. 3rd down and 10 from the 45. So they did overturn the call on the field, and Osweiler throws incomplete. With Jakeem Grant open, but Osweiler couldn't get him the ball. And with 28 seconds left, the Texans about to get it back with 2 timeouts. But they just thought they had a defensive score, and those points were taken off the board.
Yeah, pretty deflating for the Houston Texans. You certainly saw Bill O'Brien's reaction to that, and I'll tell you what, the way that series went right there, the Dolphins just thrilled to be punting, because Osweiler, he took some big time hits those last 2 plays.
Hawk punts. Just got it away with Irvin waiting for it back inside the 15 with a fair catch. 20 seconds left. Mike Tyson, who by the way they called champ around here with the Texans, came sailing in and almost got his hand on that punt, but it's a 41-yard punt by Hawk and no return.
Well, whether it's Mike Tyson or Josh Keyes, guys who, you know, are young players, and Keyes just getting picked up on Monday, relying on a lot of guys in this game with a short turnaround, with both teams getting banged up on Sunday and having to rely on these guys to contribute right away.
Keyes, a 4th-year player from Boston College, the 25-year-old, and the Texans are willing to stay put at 14-10 at the half. Houston's won 15 straight at home when leading at the half. And Houston will get the ball to start the second half, and very late they just threw a flag on the field, and now everybody that just headed off is going to have to come back out.
Tell you, this crew has had a tough night.
So here's the call from Sean Smith.
Illegal formation, offense. Number 70 was the in-man on the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty. Replay, 1st down.
I mean, they're taking a knee.
So this and Miami thankfully declines the penalty, but I guess we're going to have another snap. There's not anybody walking the planet Earth that cares about
16
that.
seconds.
I mean,
it started this way, and it's ending the same way this first half.
The players want to go in for the half. The fans are booing. Mike?
I don't know that I can add to that. It's a decline penalty, but inside of 2 minutes, the clock doesn't restart even after a decline penalty. Obviously, he was on the end of the line, but you'd like to think you could tuck that one in your pocket, but really you can't.
Well, it gets Brandon Weeden out on the field. Bill O'Brien says, you know what, Brandon, you go take this. We'll just save Watson for a play in the second half. Can we go now? Can we leave? That's it. 1 half of play in the books. 14-10 is the score. The Toyota halftime is coming up from New York. We'll step aside. 4-point game.
Want to stay up to date? Hey Siri, show me football schedules.
Dolphins, Texans. Thursday night football faces off in Houston. J.J. Watt, what can you say? He just dominates. Brock Osweiler is familiar with this place. Man, these guys are having a blast. Who's going to make a difference in the second half?
That was tonight's game flow, brought to you by Progressive. 14-10 at the half. The stats after 30 minutes of play. There was 1 turnover. It belongs to the Texans as far as taking it away. There could have been 2. Interesting call before the half. Welcome back in the booth. I'm Joe Buck along with Troy Aikman. And Troy, I know you want to talk about the Houston Texans and how they approached that first half against Miami.
Yeah, they've done what Bill O'Brien said they were going to have to do. You know, they're kind of their philosophy and approach to win games, and that is run the football. They ran it 60% of the time there in the first half, much like they did on Sunday against Jacksonville in that win. Try to protect the quarterback as best they can, and then play good defense. So they're going to be in tight ball games. That's the way it's been. That's the way that it's going to be. Now, you look at these officials there in that first half and the impact that it had on the Texans. The Dolphins were going to settle for a field goal. They ended up getting a touchdown on the penalty when they said that they hit the center, which showed that didn't really happen. And then, of course, when Osweiler lost the ball there before the first half. So, you know, they could have had a much bigger lead than they've got if maybe some calls were made that probably should have been made.
Sanders will kick it away. Tyler Ervin waits for it. Out to the 25. Let's check in with Christina Pink.
Hey, Joe, well, that interception that you mentioned was just a miscommunication, according to Adam Gase. He told me, I think Brock Osweiler's playing well. He's hitting what's open, and he's handling things well so far. Speaking of the defense, their run defense, big issue last week. He told me we have to do a better job of maintaining those blocks one-on-one up front, so it's not leaving the leaving the linebackers in a tough position on the second level, Joe.
All right, Christina, thank you. Starting from the 25. Handoff is to Miller, and Lamar Miller on the first play from scrimmage in the second half gets 8. Let's check in with Erin Andrews. The microphone is not working. Look, they're even stopping the game for it. We'll get back to Erin in a second. Second down and 2. Miller's got a first down and more. Lamar Miller inside the 30. Out of bounds near the 10. McMillan forced him out after a 58-yard carry. That's a season long.
You can see this left side and the job that they do, and the block in the lane then that's given to Lamar Miller. You've got Julian Davenport, the left tackle, who comes down and collapses the interior pursuit, and he is off and running. A couple runs to start this half, and we've seen this before from this defense of the Miami Dolphins.
First down and goal. This is Alfred Blue. Erin Andrews, are you there?
Hello, are you there? Yes, and I will tell you that the running game, Bill O'Brien saying we need more of it. So this has got to make him really happy. Not too happy about the negative yards on offense. He wants that to stop. Did ask him about the defense. He said it's been decent. He said, look, we have a lot of injuries. We're plugging guys in and out. But he wants a little bit more pressure on the Dolphins run game, guys.
Erin, thank you. These are two teams that have been racked by injuries through the first 7 games. Second and goal. Watson out to his left, throws for the touchdown. Tyler Ervin. There's a flag down on the near side at the 10, and this one's coming back. An ineligible man downfield is the initial indication.
Ineligible man downfield, offense number 65. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
They get the now starting right guard, Greg Mance.
Well, here he is right there, and you take a look, and you know that can happen sometimes. These quarterbacks, they get out on the edge. He just kind of loses track of where he is. They probably could have called Davenport as well. So a couple guys down there, they end up calling it on Mance, but that's tough on those offensive linemen when you've got a quarterback like Watson who's able to get outside the pocket and run.
Second down and goal with the ball back at the 14. Good protection. Watson completes. That's Fuller. He takes it to the 10, where it will be 3rd and goal after a completion of just 4 yards.
Well, they help out Davenport, and Bill O'Brien doing some of the same things that we've seen Adam Gase do there in the first half, just trying to help out those tackles in pass protection. And you know, they leave Lamb, the right tackle. He's blocking one-on-one, but they get Will Fuller in there just to give a little chip and to help out. Both of these teams defensively have guys who can get hot and get after the quarterback off the edge.
3rd down and goal. Watson over the middle, pass is caught, but short of the end zone. Jordan Thomas, who has a touchdown in this game, and the crowd begging Bill O'Brien to go for it with a ball just inside the 2.
Yeah, he's got a call. You know, they've got a play. They would come in if they were running like a 2-point conversion, and so they've got something they feel awfully good about down here. And when you've got a defense, you can tell that Deshaun Watson, he's not hearing the call. The headset sound looks like it's gone down, but yeah, he's going to have to call a timeout. Once they got below 15, it cut off anyway. But even before then, when he was trying to let the official know he couldn't hear, the play clock was at 16. And that's unfortunate if in fact the headset goes down, to have to use a timeout.
So obviously the first time out of this second half. Deshaun Watson is from Georgia. When he was at Clemson, as he is indicating with that wristband with plays on it, he couldn't hear what was being called. He had an internship with the Atlanta Falcons, and to a person, they said Deshaun Watson was the most pleasant guy around the facility. You would have never known he was a Division I starting quarterback.
I hear that all the time.
First guy in, last one out. Here he is to his right on 4th and goal. Now back to his left. Nowhere to throw it. Now he finds a man, and the pass is caught for the touchdown. Jordan Thomas again. The legs of Deshaun Watson made that happen.
Well, it almost looked like it was designed, but I don't believe that it was. He's trying to get the ball out, but then as he scrambles, you've got the receiver working the back line right from the start. I mean, immediately once he came off the ball, he's working the back line. I couldn't tell exactly who that was, but he made that similar throw to Irvin that got called back. And this time he comes back to Jordan Thomas. That's not an easy throw to make for a guy right-handed running like that to his left and wheel all the way around and be able to throw back to the middle. You know, Patrick Mahomes makes it look like it's routine, but that's not easy to do. But a good job finishing off there on 4th down for the touchdown. Here's a better look at, you know, trying to get enough on the ball to put it in there. That's an excellent job.
They have verified that Jordan Thomas did make the catch, secured it going to the ground. He's got 2 tonight. And the lead is 11. Good opening possession for Bill O'Brien's Houston Texans. They went for it on 4th down, and the kid, Deshaun, made it happen. Welcome back to Thursday Night Football, presented by Bud Light at NRG Stadium. And the Texans fans like what they see, up by 11 as the Texans try to win for the 5th consecutive week. There's the scoring drive. Bill O'Brien trusted his offense to get it done on 4th and goal.
Yeah, 3 for 3 tonight in the red zone. So for the last 2 weeks now, 5 for 6 on red zone possessions, coming away with touchdowns. That's obviously the difference. Those 2 big runs that helped set it up, Joe, to get him down there in that area. But you go back and take a look. Here's Hopkins, and what I saw from here initially looked like it might have been some kind of design. Tough thing to try to design a quarterback traversing field. But Hopkins sees his quarterback. He immediately is running on the baseline, trying to get open, fights through a hold there, and then they get the ball to Jordan Thomas. But there's Deshaun Watson and the element that he gives you. And if you're the play caller and you know, hey, if it's not there, and you're able to come back and scramble the way Deshaun Watson is, that gives a play caller a lot of freedom. And also, if they don't make it there, it showed that he had a lot of confidence in his defense, believing that they'd be able to make a key stop.
A 58-yard run by Lamar Miller set it up as Frank Gore tries the right side. and on first down picks up 4. McKinney on the tackle. You really like Bill O'Brien, don't you?
I do. I like him a lot. I like his style. I think he's tough. I think he's firm, and I believe that he's fair, and I feel that he's a good offensive mind. And you look at what he's done. He took a team that was 2-14 the year before he got here and went 9-7 3 years in a row, and without much quarterback play got to the postseason twice and would have been there last year if he hadn't lost his rookie quarterback.
Flag is down. Looks like a free play as Gore catches it out of the backfield, and it is offside against Houston.
So the other thing too, Joe, is Bob McNair likes him a lot too, the owner for the Houston
Offside.
Texans.
Defense number 98, 5-yard penalty. Replay, second down.
It's against DJ Reader.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien doesn't like that call, but you know, last year after going 4-12, a lot of young players losing your starter, and he signs a 4-year contract. I like that. I think it was deserved, and I don't think you can always just look at the record and determine whether or not a head coach has done his job, and I think Bill O'Brien's been excellent here.
Second down and 1. Osweiler steps into it, throws downfield, and overthrows Parker by 5 yards.
Tell you what, I don't know. I don't think Parker got held, and there was a clean pocket. Let's take a look. There is a little bit of a hold there, whether that factored in, but you see the pocket here really clean inside. That's some of the stuff that Osweiler's been trying to work on. He has been inaccurate over his career, and that drop and that slide in the pocket, it didn't look very good. Nor did the pass.
Third down and 1. And now timeout taken by Houston.
Timeout was called before the snap. This is Houston's second charge timeout of the half. 30 seconds.
So the timeout taken. Then on the other side, you've got Adam Gase, who went 10-6 in his rookie season as head coach. Then he lost Osweiler, didn't play at all last year. He brought Jay Cutler back, who he knew from previous years. They go 6-10. They stick with Tannehill. Now Tannehill's got a bad shoulder. They bring Osweiler in. He's been pretty good into tonight, but they're 4-3 and sliding. They've lost 3 out of 4 and don't look very crisp here tonight.
No, and they were feeling pretty good at 3-0 this year, and everybody wants to know when is the Patriots going to get knocked off the mountain. And going into that game at 3-0, and the Patriots starting the year as they have so many seasons, you know, struggling a little bit, not playing great football, and the Miami Dolphins going to New England at 3-0, and they walked out of there at 3-1, and the Patriots let everyone know they're not going anywhere.
Third down and 1. Quick throw. Pass is caught by Devontae Parker, who used to catch passes from Teddy Bridgewater collegiately at Louisville. And the standings and the AFC East, and no surprise to see the Patriots on top. And the points that they are putting up. 4 straight games for New England with 38 or more points. Here's Gore. And Gore just driving those legs. J.J. Watt was in on the stop, and nobody could bring down 21. Gain of 4.
Yeah, you go into a season and you're asked a lot, you know, who do you like, who do you believe is going to contend, and it's just, you never can say it enough, just what the Patriots have done, and they view the first 4 games of the season just kind of an extension of preseason and training camp. And okay, 2-2, we've been here before, and then they finish the year 12-4, and they're in the Super Bowl.
Second down and 6. Osweiler out to his right, throws it away. Pressure by Jadeveon Clowney. It's 3rd and 6.
Well, the one thing about the Dolphins, especially, you know, they've gotten rid of some good players. You know, Jarvis Landry, he left, and Jay Ajayi, he's gone, and Ndamukong Suh, and you know, whatever their reasons are, they've seen some good players walk out the door, and defensively they're really young. They've got 13 players on the defensive side of the ball that are first and second year players, and that's where they've been gashed pretty good in the run game and have been again tonight.
3rd down and 6. Osweiler in trouble again, out to his right, and has to throw it away. Nowhere to throw the ball. Good coverage downfield and pressure by Mercilus. It's 4th down.
We talked a little bit about it coming into this game, Joe, and the Texans defensively, when you look at them and you look at their rankings and you say, well, they're only, 9th overall defensively, which is still top 10, and it's good, but they're better than what their statistics show. And early in the season they gave up some yardage, but during this win streak they've been hard to score against.
Hawk punts it end over end, and a lunging catch by Tyler Ervin. 38-yard punt. It's marked at the 17. The Texans take over, leading by 11. Welcome back to Thursday Night Football, presented by Bud Light. A quarterback comparison. More yards for Osweiler, but 1 pick, no touchdowns. 2-0 in that category for Deshaun Watson. And if you want to talk running backs, Lamar Miller has now had back-to-back 100-yard rushing games. And he's looked good here tonight behind this offensive line that's trying to put 2 good weeks together. And as the plays made on Lamar Miller by Rashad Jones.
Yeah, they bring a little pressure off the edge, a run blitz by Rashad Jones, and to help secure that edge. But when you look at it, 13 passes by Deshaun Watson, in today's game, unheard of here in the middle of the 3rd quarter, and he has not taken a sack and he's not turned the ball over. And last week he only got sacked once, and they got to protect him. And although he has avoided some of those sacks, as we've shown, overall it's been a good game plan, and it's what they really kind of need to do to help not only Watson but also this offensive line.
There's another blitz. Pass is caught, but for short yardage. Tyler Ervin made the grab, and Jones on the tackle again, a gain of 4. Tomorrow night, Game 3 of the World Series, now in L.A. The Red Sox won the first 2 in Boston, but now there will be no DH, so the guy on the left on your screen, Mookie Betts, might he come in and go back to second base as they get J.D. Martinez, their DH, into the outfield. And the Dodgers will be happy with all that left-handed power to see a right-handed starter on the mound for Boston. 7:30 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. 3rd down and 8. Watson, pass downfield, and what a catch!
Oh, God.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh.
But it's offensive pass interference. That's the call.
A couple flags. There's one on the opposite side of the field as well.
Did he secure this catch? It may not count, but my gosh,
he caught. Hey, John.
Oh my
he sure
God.
did. I mean, how good is that? He caught one on Sunday against Jacksonville, 31-yarder, and it was about as good as you'll see as well.
There's 2 fouls on the play. Contact, defense number 28, pass interference, number 10 offense. Those fouls offset. 3rd down.
Xavier Howard is traveling with DeAndre Hopkins, and leading up to this game, Howard came out and said, hey, Hopkins, he pushes off, no one calls it, he gets away with it. There was contact there. I'm not so sure that Howard wasn't interfering him as much as what Hopkins was with Howard.
Mike Pereira.
Kind of one of those where I get it, there is a little bit of a shove, but there's also a grab by the defender. To me, it's one of those hands fighting. Those I would rather see left alone and not called.
I mean, how do you go up with one hand and pin that against your left hamstring?
That was too good of a catch not to count.
Here's a late rush as Quinn can't get there. The pass is batted down by Branch. That was just unbelievable.
Hey, John Madden said before he retired that these gloves have gotten so good that eventually they would catch a ball without even having to have a hand inside of it. And you know, there is a little truth to that. I mean, some of these catches we wouldn't have seen years ago before the gloves. With that being said, I mean, he caught it between his legs. There was all kinds of degree of difficulty on that one.
Didn't John Madden's receivers have help on their hands over the years?
Well, his defensive backs did.
Here's Jakeem Grant showing what he can do, and he's forced out near midfield. I mean, to have the body control, glove or not, left hand against the left hamstring, keep the leg up, secure the ball, and it didn't count. Dolphins have it down 11. Aerial coverage is brought to you by State Farm. Bill O'Brien, I think it's fair to say that he did not agree with that call against DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, he's had. I don't know that, like Mike Pereira said, that necessarily was the wrong call. It didn't have to be called. Could have been called either way. But he's had some calls, as we pointed out, that went against him that shouldn't have.
What a nice cut by Frank Gore. And on first down, inside Houston territory, a gain of 7 now. What a career it's been. Started in 2005 with San Francisco. He's been through Indianapolis. Now he's with Miami. And this is where he sits. 4th in games, 5th in rush attempts, 4th in yards, all time among running backs. Here's Gore again, covers up the football and picks up a first down. He came in with 14,358 rush yards. Number 1 is the great Emmitt Smith, 18,355. Walter, 16,726. Barry, 15,269, and then Frank.
Well, Frank Gore has been one of my favorite players in the league since I got into broadcasting, and he's fun to watch.
He can still do it down inside the 30 with a first down carry of 8. Christina, he has been fun to watch for a long time.
Absolutely. And the one thing about Frank Gore, all those accolades, he wants none of hearing about it. Talking to some of the offensive coaches before the games, he said he has been so great working with the young backs. He comes out early in pregame warmups, usually brings out one of the young guys with him, and he has been tremendous, not just on the field, but for the young guys in the locker room.
2nd down and 2 on this drive. He's carried for 7, 8, and 8. Now Drake in the backfield. Pass, Amendola, double pass. Receiver is open. That's Drake for the touchdown. Amendola throws the touchdown to Kenyon Drake. And it's a 1-possession game, a 28-yard touchdown throw for Danny Amendola.
Well, as soon as they threw it backwards, as soon as it was a backwards pass, you immediately start looking like, okay, where's Amendola going to go with it? And Kenyon Drake is right here. He's going to go up the sideline, and you're going to see how it clears out once they get the ball back to Amendola, and a good throw by Amendola. Just got to beat the defender with him being as open as he was. And that's a playbook right out of the New York Giants, or play out of their playbook. That's what Odell Beckham Jr. threw to Saquon Barkley a few weeks ago.
And just like that, it's a 4-point game again in Houston. What a play. What a throw. Texans by 4. Well, Danny Amendola, who is from the Woodlands, a northern suburb here in Houston, throws a 28-yard touchdown pass to Kenyon Drake. For Drake, his 2nd touchdown reception of the season. Now 4 Dolphins have thrown a touchdown pass. Tannehill, Osweiler, Albert Wilson with a 52-yarder this season, and now Danny Amendola is 2 for 2 throwing it in the NFL. Completed one with New England back in 2015, and let's go back to the touchdown.
Yeah, you can see the ball come out quickly to Amendola, and Drake does a good job of selling it. He doesn't just run immediately and draw attention. He kind of slow plays it a little bit, and then off he goes. So that was well done. That was the best field position that the Dolphins have had to start a drive in this game, and they're able to finish it off and come away with a touchdown. They had not had a 20-yard play in this game, and that was a good way to come up with one, because that's where they have missed Albert Wilson in being able to turn some short completions into big plays.
Handoff to Alfred Blue on first down. And a player a little bit banged up and now walking back to the huddle. A gain of 2. It's Nick Martin, who was a little slow, the center who has made every start this season right in the middle of that offensive line that said it earlier, trying to go back-to-back strong games. It protected Watson. Lamar Miller with 122 yards rushing. Play action. This one aired out downfield. That's Fuller. Fuller is gone. Touchdown Texans. What an answer.
It's one-on-one with Minkah Fitzpatrick, the rookie, and there's great protection inside that allows Watson to hold the ball. And there he goes, Fuller. Excuse me, it's Bobby McCain. It was not Fitzpatrick. I thought it was 29. It was Bobby McCain that was lined up on him, and Watson holds it. It was 2 deep safeties. He just punctures it right through the middle of that coverage. That shows you the arm strength of Deshaun Watson to lay it out there to a guy like Will Fuller, who can flat out fly.
4th touchdown catch of the season for Will Fuller, and that 73-yard play is the longest play from scrimmage of the season for Houston. So the Dolphins dive deep into their playbook. Amendola throws a touchdown. Texans go the conventional route. They air it out for Fuller. 11-point game again in Houston. Welcome back to Thursday Night Football, presented by Bud Light. They had a great one here in Andre Johnson. He played 12 seasons for the Texans. They've got 2 really good ones on the outside now with DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller, who just caught a 73-yard touchdown pass from Deshaun Watson, a career long for both.
Yeah, it was a 4-point game for all of about 30 seconds. At least Will Fuller on him.
Fairbairn hits it into the end zone. Perry will take a knee back to the touchdown.
Yeah, you're going to see T.J. McDonald right here, and Hopkins runs a dig route, and then you've got Will Fuller on the deep post, and it's a 2-man coverage. So with T.J. McDonald jumping that dig route, it opens up the backside, and there's no way Bobby McCain is going to be able to run with Will Fuller. There's the dig route, and T.J. McDonald just cluing in on him. And McCain, he's expecting some help. You see, he's looking around saying, hey, where's the safety? This is 2-man coverage. There should be 2 deep safeties helping me, but McDonald was out of the picture because he jumped Hopkins.
On first down, here's Gore right side. Got back to the line of scrimmage. You know, when you think of what Deshaun Watson did last year, 7 games played, tore his ACL on November 2nd. He had thrown for just under 1,700 yards. 19 touchdown passes, an NFL record for a player through his first 7 games. 269 rush yards, 2 more touchdowns, a quarterback rating of 103. It would have been fascinating to see him finish the year and what kind of a season he could have put together. But my gosh, he is electrifying as Gore's bottled up again. Play made by Brandon Dunn. No gain, 3rd down and 11 coming our way.
Well, what kind of season that he might have had, and what kind of season the Texans might have had. And Romeo Crennel, as you pointed out earlier in the game, he had been the defensive coordinator, and then of course Mike Vrabel last year took over the defensive side of the ball and got the head job with the Tennessee Titans. And Romeo Crennel back being the leader of this group, and I think he's done a remarkable job. He's got some really versatile players, and he has utilized them, especially on 3rd downs like we're facing here, and all the various looks that he will give. Here is, Clowney down here at the bottom, and he will stand up at times, and he'll move around, and he'll rush from all over the place also. But very creative scheme from Romeo Crennel.
Well, Sunday, it's a Fox NFL doubleheader starting with the first place Redskins taking on the Giants. Then it is a big one on America's Game of the Week as Aaron Rodgers and the Packers take on Todd Gurley and the undefeated Rams, the only undefeated team left. It's all on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Those matchups, check your local listings. Be a big sports day on Sunday in LA. The Kings play. Then you and Tom Brenneman and Aaron call the Rams Packers. Then it's potentially game 5 of the World Series. And then the Clippers play. Unbelievable in downtown
That's
LA.
Great. That's great.
I mean, it's great. 3rd down and 11. Osweiler protected, nowhere to throw it until now. What a catch, and now batted around and caught by Parker. In and out of the hands of Grant, and when he was hit, the ball ends up getting knocked into the air, and Devontae Parker is there for a 46-yard catch.
Yeah, but not until it hit off the helmet of Natrell Jamerson. You're going to see the ball gets knocked out, and then it comes off the helmet of number 31.
Yep.
Boom.
Right there off the front of the helmet. And there was Devontae Parker, who's got a 100-yard receiving day. Here's Drake cutting against the grain, and not a bad play on that first down pitch. How about Devontae Parker? He had 2 catches, 40 yards. He played in only 2 games this season, and he's on the receiving end of this. He's got a 100-yard day.
Well, their 2 biggest plays have been Danny Amendola throwing a touchdown pass to Drake, and then this off the helmet of Jamerson. But Devontae Parker, hey, he's made some nice catches in this game. I mean, he's adjusted to the ball. He certainly is making a case for the question of being asked why he hadn't played more. And I know he's dealt with some injuries, but said he was a healthy scratch last week.
Here's Drake on 2nd down and 7. McKinney on the stop, a gain of 4. And again, the Dolphins are without Kenny Stills, out with a groin injury. Albert Wilson will not need surgery, but out with a hip and on IR. So they have to rely on Amendola, Parker, Grant. And Parker's come up big for Miami.
Well, he sure has. Someone's going to need to come up big here.
3rd down and 3. Osweiler throws it away. It's 4th down.
I'm not sure what Brock Osweiler's looking at right there. They go trips to the field. They have Mike Gesicki, the rookie, right here, and he's going to run a crossing route. They don't even just put it on him. It's 3rd and 3, and they've got a chance to just get the first down. And I don't know. That's a missed opportunity, what should have been an easy first down.
Field goal here. 41-yard try by Sanders makes it a 1-possession game, and he drills it. Sanders 3 for 3 tonight. Start your Sunday early this week as Carson Wentz and the Eagles take on Jalen Ramsey and the Jaguars in Wembley Stadium. Eagles, Jacksonville, live from London Sunday at 9:30 Eastern. That's in the AM, only on NFL Network.
Well, Jacksonville's sure used to going over to London and playing in those games, and maybe we'll see a different team than we've seen the last couple of weeks. They haven't been very competitive.
It's been bad. They're now under 500, 3 and 4. And they are looking up at the team that's leading tonight. As you look at the standings in the AFC South, Houston on top. The Titans and the aforementioned Mike Vrabel not settling for a tie score, going for the 2-point try over in London. Came up short, lost last week to the Chargers. And the Jaguars and the Colts. I don't even count out Indianapolis in that division. I think that thing's still wide open.
Yeah, that's there's no question about that. You look at some of them, And teams are running away with it, but not.
Here's an onside kick try. And it did not work. Recovered by Houston. And we'll see who comes out of the pile with the football. That's Josh Keyes.
Well, it's an interesting decision because you try to catch him off guard and steal a possession, and it looks great when it works. The problem is when it doesn't work after you've just scored and cut it back to a one possession game. You lose forget field position, you just lose a lot of momentum. And we'll see now whether or not this defense is able to rise to the occasion and not give up any points.
Starting at the 49 of the Dolphins. Well, that was well played. Lamar Miller is swallowed up. No gain. Aaron Andrews.
You guys were mentioning earlier what could have been for Deshaun Watson and this Houston Texans team if he hadn't gone down with that ACL last year. He said to me, you know, it was so hard because I was having so much fun at the time, and then I just had to start over. I asked him what it's been like starting over, and he said it's been slow. It's been a very slow process, and he's learning so much. DeAndre Hopkins with a great quote, though. He was saying, you know, he was thinking to himself, oh man, again I lose another quarterback. This guy's playing with 9 different guys.
Well, he got Deshaun Watson back, and Deshaun Watson seems to be settling in quite well. He's had a great game. 3 touchdowns. His team leads by 8. Welcome back to Thursday Night Football, presented by Bud Light. Inside, it's an 8-point game. 2nd down and 10 for the Texans after the Dolphins just scored with that field goal and then tried an onside kick to no avail. So great field position and a key possession, trying to put the hammer down here in the 4th quarter against Miami.
Yeah, and remember that the Texans are now left with just 1 timeout because of a couple timeouts they had to make early in that 3rd quarter. 1 on defense, 1 by Deshaun Watson when the headset went out. And a game like this, that could be costly as we move through this 4th quarter.
Couple of fake handoffs. Watson standing back there alone. And speaking of alone, there's Hopkins. Hopkins. Touchdown. A 4-touchdown night for Deshaun Watson.
Another big play. You can see these safeties back here, and they just get completely turned around, and there's guys running all over the place, and they turn DeAndre Hopkins completely loose. TJ McDonald is playing deep. Nobody is then going with Hopkins. It looked like they were in man coverage on Fuller on the opposite side, and just a complete blown coverage.
$15-point game in Houston. Another look.
Yeah, and Hopkins was open for a while. I mean, he was wide open coming across. It looked initially like Watson didn't see him, because as Hopkins comes across the field, he's running with no one around him, and then he gets to the boundary and he just turns around and stops and waits, and there's a happy little girl.
A cue moment down in the corner of the end zone as DeAndre Hopkins adds to his big night.
He doesn't even look like he's broke a sweat tonight. I mean, he's just like running through the park. You see that no one is around him, and he gets all the way over to the boundary and then slows down. But yeah, Matt Burke.
They're going to test the durability of that Microsoft Surface tablet.
After Sunday's performance and the plays that they gave up in the running game, and then to give up some of these plays that they've given up here tonight in the passing game, yeah, he should be upset.
Perry from the end zone will bring it out. Gets stood up at the 25. DeAndre Hopkins is good for usually multiple wow catches during a season. Here's last week against Jacksonville. This little spinorama a couple of times in overtime set up the game-winning field goal here against Dallas, and then the one that didn't count is just ridiculous to pin it against his left hamstring.
I think what you said earlier and what Erin Andrews reiterated in her report.
Here's Drake. Good run here by Kenyon. He got 9.
I don't know that you can say enough about it, Joe. I mean, you're talking about a guy who was first-team All-Pro last year, and all the quarterbacks that he has worked with. I mean, that's, you say, hey, he's played with 9 quarterbacks, and someone says, oh, okay, whatever. And no, it's not that simple, because most of these great wide receivers have played with the same guy for most, if not all, of their career. So what he's done here in Houston with so many different guys, I don't know that you can really put it in proper perspective.
Drake carries, depends on the spot. And they're going to give Kenyon enough for a first down as Kareem Jackson came down to make the tackle.
I will tell you, if you're a Houston Texans fan, I think you've got to feel really good. One, about their defense, but then two, if they can get the offensive line going, and that's a big if. They've had some problems there for a couple years now, but if they can solidify that and those guys can grow and get better, they've got some weapons, as we know, that they can get the ball to. And of course, Deshaun Watson, he's only going to get healthier and he's only going to get better. He's still a young player in this league.
Osweiler floats it. What a catch by Parker. What a night by Devontae Parker. A bright spot for the Dolphins as he's welcomed back into the scheme. Good for 30 here.
He's having a night. You know, his agent's watching this saying, yep, I told you. But look at that catch. He's a talented guy, of course, when you consider where he was drafted, and he just had to battle through some injuries and obviously has not gotten much action this year, but he's making a case.
Here's Drake trying to reverse field, and he lost a couple. Brennan Scarlett and Jadeveon Clowney, a loss of 3.
Good. Well, Simmons on the ground, slow to get up.
And that's a big man in the middle, Brandon Dunn. Let's see if there was a face mask missed, and there was. That was Clowney, who had his hand inside and a little turn of the helmet via the face mask of Kenyon Drake.
You watch this defense for the Texans. They've given up some big plays now here in this second half, but guys like him, when you talk about the edge rushers, which get so much attention, J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney, and guys like Brandon Dunn and DJ Reader and Christian Covington, they've got some 310, 315, 20-pounders that can really move and are agile and athletic, and it's a fun group to watch. It's not so much a fun group to have to play against if you're Brock Osweiler and the Miami Dolphins.
Devontae Parker with a career high 134 receiving yards.
There's Jadeveon right there.
Second down and 13. Osweiler steps up, fires, and a catch by Amendola. Throw was behind him, reached back to get it, a gain of 9.
You know, so you go back and you think about the onside kick by Adam Gase and that decision after you've cut the game to 8, and you know, you give up a lot of field position and some momentum that you've created, and you know, the defense was not able to hold.
Third down and 4 here.
Hey, 4 down, 9:55.
Osweiler has a man. Parker. Pass is incomplete as Justin Reed knocked it away. And now we'll see what Adam Gase wants to do.
Yeah, I think it's a decision he has to make, and they're taking the offense now off the field. The defense has not really shown an ability to make a stop. I wouldn't disagree with the decision if he had elected to go for it here on 4th down with that consideration.
I'm with you. It's a 15-point game. This to make it a 12-point game. 46-yard try by Jason Sanders. Gase was aggressive trying that onside kick. Goes the conventional route with the field goal here of 46 yards. 12-point game in Houston. And now a message from Verizon. 11:26 to go. The Dolphins kick the field goal, their 4th of the night. It's a 12-point game, and Miami needs a stop. And right now, with the way this Texans offense is rolling, that might be hard to accomplish. Just get the feeling like things are starting to line up for this Houston team. They're in first place. They're trying for their 5th straight win, but inside that, this offense looks really dangerous right now.
Yeah, big playability. You look at just the last 2 plays that involved the 73-yard touchdown to Will Fuller and then the 49-yard play to DeAndre Hopkins. So some big playability, and yeah, they've looked good. They've protected Deshaun Watson. A lot of things to like.
How about some sounds from the Miami sideline?
Don't nobody care. Ain't nobody gonna fix it but us. Ain't nobody gonna fix it but us. And we can do it. That's the good thing about it. We can do it. So let's lock our jaws, let's buckle up. If it's moving, hit it. All right? Populate to the ball. I don't see nobody lagging. None of that, because that ain't what we made of. You feel me? Let's tighten that thing up and let's go.
I'm ready to go. From the 25, handoff to Lamar Miller on 1st down. A gain of 2. Deshaun Watson has thrown 3 touchdowns over his last 5 pass attempts. And as you look at the numbers, he's only thrown 4 incompletions, and he's thrown 4 touchdowns.
That's a good night, and as we talked about, this is the formula. And I think that as the offensive line improves, if in fact that happens, and if Deshaun Watson, as he gets healthier, then we'll see them open it up a little bit more.
Wake came across early. There's a flag down. Looked like free play, and we shall see. Jordan Thomas on the catch. Cameron Wake
offside. Defense number 91. 5-yard penalty. Way 2nd down.
That was really close to being shut down. They want to keep these quarterbacks healthy, and Cameron Wake was about a half step away from bearing down on Deshaun Watson. But they let the play go. They accept the penalty because of the short completion, and it's 2nd and 3.
We got press.
Tyler Irvin down here at the bottom. He's a running back, but he can do some things as a receiver.
Blitz off the edge. Watson throws, and the pass is caught with a sliding grab by Hopkins. A gain of 19.
They're fortunate that Deshaun Watson had to get outside the pocket and was not as accurate as he would have liked to have been on this throw, because they're in man coverage on DeAndre Hopkins, and they just simply are not able to run with him.
Fitzpatrick was coming on the blitz. Lamar Miller threw a nice block. It's 1st down Houston. Inside Miami territory at the 49.
Yeah, Hopkins, he had 3 steps on Xavier Howard.
Handoff to Miller. Cameron Wake on the stop. Just a reminder of what Deshaun Watson did. He was hurt October 7th against Dallas. Damage to his sternum, rib, partially collapsed lung. And as a precautionary measure, because of concerns about air pressure in an airplane, they put him on a bus. He wasn't alone. He had members of the training staff with him and others. And he made a 12.5-hour trip to Jacksonville. Won the game. 12.5-hour trip back. Flag down. Pass incomplete for Will Fuller.
He wasn't riding a Greyhound either.
That was a nice bus. And hopefully Fuller's okay. There's a flag and an official who threw his hat because he was out of flags. That was, boy, you don't want to see that. He kind of jammed that left leg into the ground. And Fuller gets attention of the right leg, grabbing his right knee.
Yeah, they're tending to him, and like you said, you sure hope he's okay. You know, watching him, you know, when he came in a few years ago, and to be able to be a real deep threat and complement DeAndre Hopkins, and watching him, obviously a big night tonight, unbelievable speed, great quickness, runs good routes.
Illegal contact, defense number 25, that penalty's declined. Holding, defense number 28, that penalty's declined. Pass interference, defense number 28. It won't be placed at the spot in the foul, automatic first down.
I don't think the speech by Tony Oden worked.
Well, they got everybody huddled around right now with Will Fuller.
We'll take a break as Fuller is able to get up, and you can see him say, "I'm good," and let's hope he is. Well, now Will Fuller goes into the tent to get that right knee looked at. It was a 38-yard pass interference call against Bobby McCain after Houston declines the illegal contact and the hold, all against the secondary. First and goal. Handoff is to Miller. Nice move there, and he's inside the 5. Minkah Fitzpatrick, the first-round pick out of Alabama, made the tackle, a gain of 5, second and goal.
Gain of 5. They have 3 defenders right there to make a play on him for a loss of 2, and they're just unable to corral him. So the woes continue for the run defense, and of course they've been completely exploited in pass coverage.
Look what Deshaun Watson has done. Red zone passing 5 for 5, 29 yards, 2 touchdowns. Handoff is again to Miller. Well played this time. A gain of 1, so third and goal. Alonzo made that stop. Houston's down to 1 timeout. As they come to the line at the 2. That's Hopkins at the bottom. Looking for him. Pass is caught for the touchdown. He's incredible. Great throw. And touchdown pass number 5 for Deshaun Watson. Watson had a 5-touchdown pass game last season, week 5 here against Kansas City. He's got 5 tonight.
That's a great release and another hold. Xavier Howard puts the hold on him, and you're going to see Rashad Jones, number 20. Deshaun Watson has to wait until he clears him. And once he does, then he knows he can stick it on him. And he's counting on DeAndre Hopkins in order to get inside and get a step, which he does. So even with the hold, Hopkins plays through that. And a perfectly thrown ball, well executed there.
Yeah, that throw was perfect, and Hopkins was there, able to secure the catch going to the ground. And Deshaun Watson has more touchdown throws than incompletions in this game.
That's a good night.
This is a dangerous Texans football team. This offense is humming. And Hopkins gave it to one of the big guys to spike. Nick Martin. The young man is a star, and he's got a great wide receiver to throw it to. We get word that Will Fuller is out for the rest of the game with the knee, just hoping it's nothing long term. Dabo Swinney was telling anybody that would listen before the draft last year that Deshaun Watson is a winner, should be the first guy taken. The Texans listened. You think Bill O'Brien's glad they grabbed that kid?
I think so.
Man, he's fun to watch. Perry on the return. Talk about fun to watch. How about on Sunday, late in the afternoon? Early in the afternoon where you will be, Troy. You, Tom Brenneman, Aaron Andrews, Richie Zients, Rich Russo, the rest of our crew will be there at the LA Coliseum for the matchup between the Green Bay Packers and the Los Angeles Rams. Green Bay 3-2-1. The Rams, the only undefeated team at 7-0.
Well, the Packers coming off a bye week, got a chance to get rested up. That's a good thing anytime you're facing the high-flying Los Angeles Rams, and maybe a healthier Aaron Rodgers. We'll see how it goes.
Here's a blitz, and Osweiler gets smoked. Tyrann Mathieu.
It looked like Kenyon Drake should probably be responsible for that. I just don't think he ever saw him coming. And Osweiler says, thank you very much. I mean, they've got Drake there to pick up Mathieu as he comes, but I just think that Drake just simply lost sight of him, or because of the way Clowney came up, he just didn't secure it first and make sure that Mathieu was not on the blitz, but Osweiler with just no chance.
Clowney is down and getting looked at. Tyrann Mathieu, who was an All-Pro in 2015. Last year was the first time he had played all 16 games in a season. He's not a big-bodied guy, but he will hit, and able to kind of duck down, sneak through there, get the sack. Back-to-back weeks with a sack, and Tyrann Mathieu fits right into what these Texans want to do defensively under the direction of Romeo Crennel. And let's see what happened to Clowney.
You see that Drake, some kind of with his elbow, or that's been the one thing. When he came into the league, the thing that derailed him to start his career was injuries, and then once he got healthy, I mean, off and running he was, and what a year he has had. He's been relatively quiet tonight, but a great player in a contract year, and you can tell watching him.
Clowney played 4 games as a rookie, missed 4 games over the following 2 years. The whole year last year. Here's one to the sideline and way over Devontae Parker. It'll be 3rd down and 19.
Well, and you talk about Mathieu and guys like him and Kareem Jackson and some of the versatility that they present, and Mathieu as Clowney goes into the tent. Matthew's one of those guys who he's really at his best when he's around the line of scrimmage. He is a physical player, like you talked about, Joe. He's great on the blitzes. He's good on coverage underneath. A really good player that fits in well with Romeo Crennel's scheme.
Underneath, the pass is caught by the tight end Gesicki, and he gets hit hard. And that just gets out to the 25, a gain of 6.
Gesicki likes to do this, and he's going to learn that his career is going to be short, trying to jump over defenders all the time. And he was a basketball player in high school. He was a slam dunk champion in New Jersey, and played volleyball. So he's got some impressive vertical skills, but the landings are a little hard when you start trying to hurdle defenders.
Hawk to punt. A little extra step by Hawk there, and to the 25. Tyler Ervin, flag is down. And so is Ervin at the 47. At the moment, a 50-yard punt, a 28-yard return. Looks like it's against Houston. Well, they talk about it. Deshaun Watson with a 157.8
There's 2 fouls on the play.
rating.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Return team number 88. That penalty's declined. Block in the back. Return team number 23. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
It ends up being against Batamosi for this. Jordan Akins was guilty of it as well. 158.3 is a perfect quarterback rating. Watson is at 157.8. He's thrown 4 incompletions. He's thrown 5 touchdown passes.
Well, 4 of them have come on his last 7 throws. So that's pretty good. And he's only thrown the ball 19 times. And you know, you go back, the last 3 games that he's played, his pass attempts have gone down. And there was a stretch there of 3 games where he had thrown the ball 40+ times, and that's not the formula for this Houston team. And you start then getting hit a lot, as he was. It exposes the offensive line, and I mean, this could not have gone better for this offense and for Bill O'Brien and what he wants to see from his young quarterback.
That's definitely what the head coach wants. Make the opponent respect the running game. Back off, coming after Deshaun Watson, coming off the torn ACL. Coming up on the 1-year anniversary of that tear on November 2nd. That was Spence.
You see Deshaun Watson, he gives the fist pump. He went with a hard count to draw him off and add an easy 5.
Defense number 93. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
Let's take a look at tonight's game summary presented by Verizon. And why was Deshaun Watson smiling just a moment ago? Well, he's had a tremendous night. A couple of touchdown passes to tight end Jordan Thomas. He got a big one to Will Fuller for 73 yards. And he got this one to DeAndre Hopkins, and then another for good measure. Hopkins on the night, 78 yards and the 2 touchdowns. Here's Alfred Blue. First guy there, McMillan, a gain of 1. We've talked a lot about this offensive line. It has been criticized quite a bit during the course of the season. They've had some injuries. They don't have Zach Fulton up at right guard this week again, but 170 rush yards, no sacks allowed. That's a good night.
Oh, it's a great night. They've done a good job. There's no doubt. And being able to play with a lead has certainly helped. And they've run the football, and just like they did on Sunday. But hey, give these guys some credit. Mans has come in now for 2 weeks for Zach Fulton. He's played well to start the year. They lose their starting right tackle. They got to make some adjustments. They move Davenport over there to that side. They bring in the rookie Martinez Rankin. He struggles, and you know, it was in complete disarray, and they finally have settled in, and we're seeing the results of that, especially the last 2 weeks. Now, we don't know what Jacksonville is. They've given up a lot here recently, but that was a good win, and this is another good performance following that up.
How about that catch by Hopkins? I mean, the way he just snatches the ball out of the air as he's headed out of bounds, gets both feet down. Man, it's fun to watch.
Well, it is fun to watch, and then he makes the play, and he just kind of comes back to the huddle, and you know, no real big deal, no theatrics afterwards. He is awfully fun to watch, and unfortunately for you and I, we haven't had a chance to really get a chance to call many of their games and watch them in person, but this has been quite a show by him and Will Fuller.
Let's see if he got that second foot down. It looked like he might have dragged the toes. This is being challenged by Miami. Right foot. And the question is, did the toes drag on the left foot? The call on the field is a catch and a first down.
Challenging the ruling on the field of a completed pass. The play is under review.
So a challenge by Miami. Defensively, there have been some breakdowns for the Miami Dolphins and this group put together by Matt Burke.
Well, we talked about it, Joe. There's the big play to Will Fuller, all the way through with our safety jumps DeAndre Hopkins. Here's where they come back and kind of basically the same type of route, the deep crosser, and just completely blown coverage. And this defense last year was young in a lot of ways. 8 different rookies saw playing time on the defensive side of the ball. And then, as I said earlier, this year with 13 guys in their first or second year. And they've been exposed, and they're trying to develop something, but they've just been unable with any regularity.
Mike Pereira, you've watched that replay a number of times over in your little corner. What'd you see?
My little corner here says catch because the left toe, watch it on the ground when he gets first control there. So people sometimes ignore that first foot when it's down, and you just have to look at that when possession is gained. And so I would say this stays as a catch.
I think you could also make the case that he dragged the left foot. Here's a call.
The ruling on the field of a completed pass stands. Miami will be charged their third and final timeout. The overplay is the first down.
I say just state your case and let's get on with it, one way or another.
Well, now being out of timeouts, that's it in the way of a challenge by Miami. I guess worth a shot trying to get the ball back, but instead it's a first down and out of timeouts. So the Dolphins. Brock Osweiler in his return to Houston. 18 of 34, 220, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Here's Alfred Blue on the right side for 2. Raekwon McMillan on the tackle. If you wonder where the Texans go after this, they are at Denver and then a bye. They're at Washington, at home against Tennessee.
Well, the Texans, they just brought in Martinez Rankins, the one I was talking about, the rookie tackle, and they're going big, as you would expect at this point in the game, and try to pound it a little bit.
Now an I formation behind Watson. Here's a little change of direction by Alfred Blue. It'll be third down after a gain of a couple. For Miami, they are at home against the Jets, so a divisional battle. They're at Green Bay, they're bye, and then they are at Indianapolis. That man, Devontae Parker, has had a nice night. 6 catches, 134 yards. Itching to get back in the lineup. One of the few bright spots tonight for the Dolphins.
Well, promising start at 3-0, and now after tonight, they will, if they don't do something miraculously.
Here's Blue with a first down carry.
Yeah, that's about over. So to lose 4 of their last 5, the season is about to get away from them, and they need to figure it out, and it needs to start when they host the New York Jets. And that was the thing that was disappointing for them on Sunday, knowing they had a quick turnaround here at Houston. It was going to be a tough game for them, but to be hosting the Detroit Lions there in Miami on Sunday and really just did not show up defensively, and it's spiraling out of control for them.
They may get their quarterback Tannehill back next week. Nobody knows. That whole injury has kind of been shrouded in some mystery, so the Dolphins have to get him back. But you talk about defensively, a week ago they allowed 248 rush yards at home against the Lions, not a team known for what they can do running the ball. But they were impressive last week, and the Lions, by the way, have climbed to 500. They're 3-3, and they have a home game against Seattle.
Well, Thursday nights have not been good to Adam Gase.
He'll slide to 0-3 on Thursday night as Blue gets hit after a gain of 1. The Dolphins now have allowed 599 rush yards over the last 3 games, including tonight. You can't win if you can't stop the run.
Well, I think that in today's league, I don't know that it's what it once was, but you can't give up 248 yards. I mean, you're not going to win games when you do that. I mean, I don't know that stopping the run and running the ball is as paramount as it once was, or reflects as strongly in winning football games as it once did. But those kinds of defensive performances, yeah, you're just not going to win, period.
So we'll stay here at the 2-minute warning. It's a 3rd down and 6. And when your defense is struggling the way Miami's defense has struggled here over recent weeks, this is the look you get on the sideline from Matt Burke. He's had it. And so did that tablet that disappeared under the water cart over there on the sideline.
Well, it's hard to believe this was a 14-10 ball game at halftime. Thought we were going to have a good finish.
3rd down and 6. Handoff to Blue. It'll be 4th down. You want to go to the World Series?
Yes, I do. I'm going to be out in L.A. The last time the Dodgers won the World Series, I was in college at UCLA, and certainly was following them, and of course Kirk Gibson and that whole series and how awesome that was. That was an awfully exciting time to be in Los Angeles, and you know, they got their work cut out for them now. I know the Red Sox are a heck of a ball club.
You know, that was 30 years ago.
I do know
30
that, yeah.
big ones.
Yep.
30 years ago. Daniel hits it. Amendola with a fair catch. How about 40 years ago? The Dolphins traveled to the Astrodome, which, by the way, is still standing and right next door, to take on the Oilers and a rookie running back named Earl Campbell on Monday Night Football. Campbell had 199 yards and 4 touchdowns, including an 81-yard rushing touchdown to give the Oilers a 35-30 win. You know, everybody thinks, especially this time of year, that I'm always rooting against every team, right? That was my team. I don't know why. I lived in St. Louis. There was a football team right down the highway. But the Houston Oilers, for some reason, a young, pudgy Joe Buck loved the Love You Blue Houston Oilers.
Well, they were a fun team to watch, and Earl Campbell, and of course Bum Phillips, and that whole crew. That was, talk about an exciting time in a city. Big Blue, that was an awesome time here in Houston.
My man Dan Pastorini slinging it around. Renfro on the outside. Here's a pass caught for a 1st down by Gesicki, the rookie tight end. And there are 32 seconds left in the game.
You know, I told you this before. I played, my Little League team in baseball was the Red Sox for 3 years when I was 10, 11, and 12. And so I was a big Red Sox fan during those years, following them with Jim Rice, Carl Yastrzemski, Fred Lynn, the whole crew. And so I'm a little torn with this series, I got to be honest, because I was a Dodgers fan as well. I kind of root for the big finish. I just want to see it go to 7 and have some excitement. Those games are always a lot of fun.
They blow the play dead because of the hit that Jakeem Grant just took to the helmet. So they stop the clock. Here's the announcement.
An injury with under 2 minutes by rule is a charged timeout. This is Miami's 4th excessive charge timeout. This will be a 10-second runoff. This is the end of the game.
And that is good night.
Probably a good way for this game to end, considering the way it started.
Bill O'Brien has his Houston Texans rolling. They started 0-3. They sit now at 5-3. A 5-game winning streak. That's not easy to do in the NFL. And Deshaun Watson, what a game. So fun to watch. Coming up next, the Buffalo Wild Wings postgame show. There's the final. Thanks for watching Thursday Night Football, presented by Bud Light.